We are back in business today. Ugh. Sorry, that was a very long That was a very long startup. I just wanted to get the ads out of the way first. But yeah, so today, like I said yesterday, we're gonna be drawing some like magic items for D&D. Haven't decided if I should leave this as an art stream or move it over to D&D since I am doing D&D prep stuff. I'm not really gonna worry about it too much right now. I'll troubleshoot it and experiment the more I do it. But yeah, welcome in. Glad to see some people made it. Oh man. Sorry, I'm just like having something to drink, clearing my head a little bit. How's everybody doing? Yeah, I feel that. Since I haven't, since I'm not at work anymore, I'm having like a regular sleep schedule again, which has been very odd because I'm like going to sleep at like 9 o'clock or like 10:30 or whenever I get off stream, if I'm streaming that day. So I'm going to sleep at like reasonable hours and then waking up at like 7, 8 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, this isn't great. Because then I just end up awake for hours, like not knowing what I'm gonna do. That's alien to me. Yeah, it's not something I was used to either, but it's weird how my body just immediately went, oh, you don't have to be up until 7 o'clock in the morning anymore? Cool, go the fuck to bed, asshole. So, as a follow-up / explanation for what we're doing today, because it's a follow-up to yesterday, I am designing a dungeon for my players to go through that is chess-themed, And part of the dungeon's prerequisites is that when the players get in, there are some items for them to pick up to facilitate the dungeon's mechanics, which are called pawn caps, to basically just make the players function as pawns on a giant chessboard until they get to the other side and upgrade them. So, I'm going to be designing what the pawn cap actually looks like. So, and each of its upgrades that it can receive, which I'll go over that real quick just for fun. So, the idea of the dungeon, just to give a synopsis, I suppose, the party is sailing and comes across an island that is not on any of their maps or charts. And this island is kind of empty, save for a few animals. And the party stumbles across a giant obelisk that looks like a giant black queen chess piece. It has a riddle inscribed on the base and a slot for something to be inserted. And the riddle is basically asking them, like, hey, which chess piece is this that's being described? Now, I don't remember what the riddle was off the top of my head because I literally made it up in the moment because I just made the party find this dungeon because I had it in mind but hadn't really fleshed it out yet. But I wanted to end the session on a cliffhanger and get them hyped for this week. So, the joke was, hey, the piece being described by this is a pawn. So the dungeon below is a four-tiered dungeon, or a 4-floor dungeon, with the first floor basically being a tutorial introducing the players to how the mechanics of the dungeon are going to work. The idea being the party is playing as the white pieces, and the enemy pieces are the black pieces. When the party comes in, there's a giant chessboard which has 8 black pawns and 2 white pawns, because there's 6 players in the party. And the idea is that in between those 2 pawns that are already on the board, there are a collection of these little caps. And the idea of the pawn cap is that once the party puts them on, it will allow them to function as pawns on the board. So unless it's their first time moving during the encounter, once initiative is rolled, each player's movement speed is 5 feet. They have no flying, swimming, or climbing speeds, because none of those are things that would influence the game, quote unquote. Everyone in the party gains pack tactics. They get a stone skin spell that affects them to make them match the aesthetic of the side of the board that they're playing on. And they each get, they also can only engage in combat with things that are in a diagonal square away from them on the chessboard that's on the actual game map. Now, the important thing about this is that when the players get into their positions, it's going to be initiative going back and forth like an actual chess game. So everyone's going to roll their initiative, the enemy rolls their initiative, and then it goes first on their side, first on the enemy side, second on player side, second on enemy side, so on and so forth, back and forth through the initiative order for the entirety of the encounter. And the goal is that once they've defeated the enemy pawns and moved to the other side of the board, each player will have the option of upgrading their pawn cap. The pawn caps can be upgraded into any of the other pieces, and each one gets its own variation. So, like, you have Rook's Parapet, Knight's Helm, Bishop's Mitre, Queen's Diadem, and King's Regalia. And the only reason why they're allowed to do a king upgrade is because technically their side doesn't have a king yet. So one of the players can choose to be the king, or choose to have it be an NPC construct. I'm going to add a little extra thing up here, just to add more intrigue to the design. Try not to make it look like a nipple, or the tip of a giant cock. So, the idea is that once the players do these little upgrades to their caps, then that assigns them as this new piece for when they go deeper into the dungeon and gives them some extra abilities based on the piece that they've selected. So like, if you upgrade to Rook's Parapet, the character gains a charging attack that they can do. If the player upgrades to Knight's Helm, it gives them Flyby. Some chess pieces are definitely a bit phallic. Yeah, that's true. I'm just trying not to get TOS. Good luck with the bishop. I have an idea as to what it's going to look like. And then, like, the queen has a couple cool abilities. The king gets, like, an aura of protection type thing, and, like, the ability to sacrifice his action, so instead of him moving, he can allow another player to move or attack. So all the pieces get cool special abilities. The bishops get, like, a passive heal that they can do as a bonus action. And the monsters that they're going to end up fighting against, I found a website called Pirate Gonzalez Games, and this guy did like whole stat sheets for chess-themed monsters that he called chessmen. So those are the monsters I'm going to be running them against. It's a really cool concept. I'm super into the way that guy designed them. But yeah, I was inspired to do this because of like, in Devil May Cry 3, there's some demons you can fight against called the Damned Chessmen, and I really liked that fight when I was younger, even though it was complicated and annoying as shit. So I'm like, how do I recreate a little bit of that with like some of like the Archfiend motifs of Yu-Gi-Oh! And like kind of invoking the big wizard chess game at the end of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Like, just drawing from a lot of different places to see like how can I recreate this kind of thing and simplify things for my party, because there is like always the issue. I'm going to duplicate the thing that I just sketched. This is just an aside. I'm going to flip it because I'm going to do two of these, and one of them is going to be the black, and one's going to be white. So let me center these, then make the picture bigger. We'll do a little upper center because I want to leave room for text on the bottom. But yeah, I just wanted to create like a fun combat encounter that wasn't strictly combat, but had puzzle elements to it. So basically, the first floor is a puzzle element, or is a tutorial to introduce these mechanics and get the party comfortable with doing it. The second and third floor are going to be puzzles based on like actual chess puzzles. I talked to a friend of mine earlier who plays more chess than I do, because I'm a very casual chess player. I don't know shit about like the intricacies of chess. I'm the wrong person to ask, which might mean that I'm the wrong person to be designing this. However, you know, I just ask people who know better than I do. I made it a point to ask another friend of mine who isn't in the campaign, who's familiar with chess things. And when I was talking to him about like, oh, well, I want to do chess puzzles, and I tried like reading primers on like well-known chess puzzles or like commonly used puzzles for instructing young people or people who are getting into chess. And the problem that I ran into doing that particular method was that the people who write those primers just assume that you're somebody who's been playing chess since you were fucking 3 years old, and they just explain it in a way that is completely way too dense and incomprehensible to me, because it's like, oh, I'm expected to just know what all of this like chess notation and all these other things mean. This means nothing to me. These words mean nothing to me. Let me go ask somebody who can explain it to me like I'm 4. So I went and asked my friend Gabe. And he gave me a description, was like, well, you might want to be careful about like how you scale things for them then, because if you're going to do chess puzzles, you know, pawn puzzles are mostly about trading and things, and it's a lot of chess minutia. He's like, and if your party isn't a lot of people who are super into chess, and none of it's going to make any sense to them. He's like, it's just going to be daunting. So his suggestion was, what if instead you orient pieces on the board to resemble famous chess openings, like popular chess openings, like the London System or the Queen's Gambit, and then have the party orient themselves to complete the opening to demonstrate that they understand what they're looking at. And through that conversation, I'm like, oh, that's so much easier, because it's a lot easier for me to understand a chess opening than it is to, like, figure out the solution to a chess puzzle. So, and it makes aspects of it a lot easier, because my plan is that each level of the dungeon is going to have like a collection of bookshelves and like a spectator area that the party can hang out in before they engage in the fight to like rest. And in the sometimes experts are so far removed from being novices that they have no idea how to talk about their subject at a novice's level. Yeah, that is an issue that I'm seeing with a lot of it. So I'm giving each of the levels of the dungeon like a spectator area that the party can kind of just hang out in, because the chess pieces, until the party steps on the board, the pieces are completely inert. So they can, if they want to, take time to rest in between encounters. Not a long rest, but they can do like a short rest, get a little bit of HP back, do, all that fun stuff. And the idea is that each level is going to have like a bookshelf or like a small like coffee table basically with a couple of books on it. And if the party digs through those books, my plan is to have like a description of what the party is supposed to do to solve the puzzle, but written in prose. Because that's what I did to introduce them to the entire dungeon, was like, hey, here's a little riddle, like this little prosy riddle explaining to you what you need to enter this dungeon. You can just insert any black pawn piece to open the door to this dungeon. So the idea is that every level of the dungeon will have a little piece of prose to explain to the party what they have to do in order to solve the puzzle. So that way it incentivizes them to engage with their environment and, really try and understand what it is that they're looking at. And then the final floor is going to be an all-out boss battle where the party is acting as chess pieces against a complete other chess set, and they have some like NPC constructs working on their side. And the goal is to bring the enemy side to checkmate status. And the goal is like, okay, if the player group reaches checkmate status, the magic of the board and the magic of the caps is released, and it just becomes normal D&D combat from that point forward. Anything defeated by that point through the chess combat remains defeated. Anything that isn't becomes an enemy that has to be fought in normal initiative. But if the party reaches checkmate, they get some bonuses for doing it, like some damage resistances, some condition immunities, things of that nature. But if the enemy accomplishes checkmate instead, then the enemy monsters will get all the bonuses that the party would normally get. And it also releases certain restrictions on the abilities of the enemy creatures that they would normally have because of the status of the board and the magic of the game that they're technically playing. So it kind of incentivizes the party to kill as many of those creatures as they can within the confines of the chess game before reaching checkmate status. So that way it simplifies the combat in the post-game. And as they complete puzzles and proceed through the dungeon, there's going to be basically a hidden staircase appears and a treasure chest will appear. The treasure chest gets gradually more ornate as they progress into the dungeon with better things contained inside. And the idea is that the party basically gets the choice where the chest where if they take the chest, they are resigning from the dungeon, in which case the staircase that brings them deeper down disappears and the party is allowed to leave. If they choose to resign, they can't re-enter this specific dungeon for 4d10 days, because the board, everything that they disrupt needs to reset itself, and the caps will be taken from them and reverted back to their normal state. However, if they choose to progress, they forego whatever rewards are on that floor, and basically say, we're doubling down, basically double it and move it to the next floor, add these rewards to whatever we'd get if we complete the next challenge. And then if they complete all of the floors, they get every floor's rewards as one giant treasure trove, plus some bonus treasure that they wouldn't normally receive. So that's my overarching plan for like the reward and challenge system for the dungeon. And I made the decision after stream last night that I think what I'm going to do is once the dungeon's finished and I've done all the maps, I'm going to do a write-up with some diagrams for it. I'm going to leave all of the chessboards on each floor empty. Like, I'm going to leave the maps empty, because when I go to do the actual layouts of those chessboards, I'm just going to use some transparent, like, generic 2D chess piece PNGs to save myself the struggle of having to draw them. And I want to leave them blank so that way anybody who decides that they want them, I'm going to do a write-up. I'm going to, like, basically illustrate the diagrams using the maps and the assets that I have set aside for it. And I'm going to put the PDF write-up, all of the maps, and the item designs that I'm doing here. I'm going to take all of these, bundle them together, and put them on Ko-fi as like a pay-what-you-want thing. So that way people can take it, try it out, see if they like it, and then if they really like it, they can throw me a couple bucks if they feel like it. And all the boards are going to be blank so they can use their own assets, but I'm going to do a write-up to explain my methodology, and basically leave them free to, like, change things up however they want, but use mine as an example or as the baseline if you just don't want to think about it. I'm going to include, like, a link to the guy who designed the monsters, or just invite them, like, look, if you want, you can just use your own. Yeah, I thought it sounded like a cool idea, too. Like, I just want to do, like, some stuff to, like, put content on my Ko-fi page, because it is kind of bare. And I'm just trying to lean into, like, the stuff that I know, which in this case is D&D. I'm probably going to backtrack a little bit at some point as well, and go back to some dungeons that I've done for my party before, and I'm gonna do some write-ups and design some maps for those, so that way other people can use those as well, because I'm very proud of a lot of the other dungeons that I've created, and you know, it kind of satisfies one of my big problems as a DM, which is I don't fucking write anything down. I make maps, and then everything else about the encounters, including items that I end up giving my party, it's all stored in my head, nothing is written, and it makes it really hard when I have things like, one of my players is running a game for her family, and she had asked me for, like, hey, can I see, like, you know, do you have any notes from past stuff that you've done? And I'm like, no, because it's all in my head. Like, all the lore for my homebrew world and everything, it's all in my head. I haven't written anything down. It's just like, yeah, I know the history of this world because I've run fucking 40-something games in it, and I've had to flesh things out, and there are some things that didn't exist in the world until players asked about them. I am very much a DM who doesn't plan or doesn't know what anything is until somebody asks about it. Because when I first started DMing, I tried that kind of over planning and it backfired. It backfired every time. And with a lot of people I know who try DMing for the first time, I see it backfire every time. Where, you know, you overplan, you make all these big elaborate set pieces, and then your party decides that they would rather go shovel shit on a farm for 3 sessions in a row to earn enough money to actually begin the adventure proper, instead of just going to the tavern like you hoped they would and grabbing a job off the job board. Now that particular thing isn't an experience that I've had, but one of my players described that as a thing that happened with one of his parties early into his DMing career. And I think that's really fucking funny, personally, to just be like, hey, there's basically a sign on the road that says adventure that way, and they're like, guys, we should go make some money so that way we can buy provisions for the road. And it's like, or you could just take the 4-hour walk down the road and just go start the adventure and get paid that way. No, what are you, crazy? So I've learned to be a little bit more loose in how I DM for the sake of my own sanity and to avoid over planning. Sometimes to my detriment, because there are times where my under planning turns into not planning at all, and I end up just going, let's just see what these guys do this week, and then I'll work from there. And then the problem is that there are some times where I do that, and no one knows what to do, like no one has any direction, and they keep looking at me to tell them what to do, and I'm like, oh well, I was kind of hoping you guys just kind of take the lead on this one, since that's what we've kind of been doing. It's even more of an issue right now because the style of game that we're playing is entirely driven by the players. Like, there is no set in stone plot for this campaign right now. Like, I have some stuff for all the characters' backstories. I know when I'm going to integrate that stuff. And I'm basically doing a thing where, as the party moves from place to place and changes locations, I pick one member of the party whose backstory is going to be or I pick two members of the party whose backstories are going to be relevant. And I basically make it so that it's like, okay, this person is A plot, this person is B plot. And then as we traverse through the story of where they're going, I include some little side quests and optional things for the party to do to give everybody other tasks. And then as one player completes their A plot, the other player who was going to be the B plot for that section becomes the new A plot player. So that way all of their backstories are slowly weaving into the story. And I'm kind of like, I have a roadmap in my head for where the party is going now and how this progression of events leads them to the next place and so on. So in my head, it's a very linear path, but they're just taking the most roundabout way to walk in a straight line. Because, like, that's kind of what you do as a DM. Brennan Lee Mulligan illustrated the point verbally by saying, like, you know, your players are water moving downhill, where their goal is to reach the conclusion of their personal stories and achieve their goals as quickly as possible. And your job is to guide the water downhill, but put as many tracks and pipes in the way to make as many interesting shapes as possible out of the water before it reaches the bottom. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. But it's very hard when the story of the campaign as a whole doesn't have, like, a set-in-stone overarching villain. There's not really a set-in-stone goal for the party to pursue. There's really, like, there's no typical story elements to it for the party to follow. So it has to be built out as a set of smaller stories happening in the same world together with a group of people who just happen to be traveling together. Instead of all of them working on a common story. And that's a very interesting challenge to have to overcome. Because if at any point, if any one player doesn't have a certain level of engagement with their character or with their character's narrative, somehow every D&D group I'm part of ends up veering wildly off path, and the DM has to do the opposite and try to trick us or muscle us back on track. Beginning to wonder if I'm the problem. I mean, how often are you the one causing the party to diverge from the plan? And I don't know, with them right now, like, the biggest issue I'm running into, no comment. Well, that's all the answer I needed. Thank you very much, Your Honor. But yeah, with a game like this where there is no, like, real overarching story for the party to be following, if anyone loses any amount of engagement with their own character or their own part of the narrative, it will just, like, it'll completely hamstring the pace. And it's really rough because, like, if someone's unsure of something with their character or doesn't know how to pursue it, because, like, I do have a couple people who are still kind of green, like, very new, it's like, if they don't know what to do next, it's or they don't have like a concrete goal in mind or something that's like, what's the word that I'm looking for? They don't have something that's actionable. It becomes very easy for it to be like, hey, you're in control of this section of the plot, whether or not you realize it. And it's hard for me as a DM to be like, hey man, this is literally your part in the play. I need you to read your lines. And without coming off of as a dick sometimes. And it's just it's a very interesting challenge of not having a set in stone thing, because like, you know, there's always this thing in D&D where there's the argument about like, should you do an open world or should you do like a thing where you put your party on rails. And you always see people advocate for like, no, your game should be open world, your party should have complete control over where they go and what they do. And when talking to one of my friends, one of the guys who's playing in this game, he's like, all right, bro, I'm gonna be so straight up with you. He's like, motherfuckers don't actually want open world. He's like, they want to be on tracks. They want a linear story. They just want to control the pace at which they reach those different sections of the linear story. And when he put it to me like that, it put a lot of things into perspective for a minute, because I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. He's like, because if you give them complete freedom, they end up with decision paralysis, and they do the Skyrim thing, where like, if you give people complete freedom, they do the Skyrim thing where they pick up every single side quest and end up with a gigantic log of things that they should be doing, without the understanding that like, this is a living world that you're playing in, and if you don't do these things within a timely fashion, you will miss out on the opportunity to complete these quests and get these rewards, and there will be in-world consequences. So, at most, what you want, like, his argument was, you don't want to give them a complete open world, you just want to give them a simple, linear story with the occasional side thing to do along the way, and just let them decide the pace at which the story progresses. Not really... Don't give them the full ability to decide how the story goes, but let them decide how it progresses, and let them have enough agency to feel like they're influencing the world, but not to the point where their decision paralysis stops the narrative entirely. And that was a very, for lack of a better word, it was a very eye-opening conversation to have, because I'm like, huh, you know, I never really thought about it like that. But it's also because, like, are you winning, son? You can't win at D&D. I mean, some people think you can, but most people are fucking dickheads, and I don't want to play with them. I think the back one is going to be... This is going to be the black one, this is going to be the white one. So what I'll do for the black one then is... Layer underneath. Gray. On a line. This is also a fun thing to do for me right now because I haven't drawn inanimate objects for D&D since I was drawing in a sketchbook regularly. Like, the last time I drew magic items for D&D and like tried to illustrate D&D items, I was purely traditional and I hadn't got my iPad yet. So this is a fun experience. Also, I did get the chatbot working again earlier today. Turns out I had to log out and then log back into Stream Elements because something bugged out with the bot. done this thing with the black cap. I'll put a clipping mask over it. I'm not gonna go fully black. I'm gonna go like really, really dark gray. And we just fill that space. Ignore this. Gonna look for this. Okay. Not a problem. I'm gonna report this person. Spam, scam. Spam. Report. Lock this user. Now we'll ban him. It's just that easy. We got an ad break coming in a minute. It is going to be like 3 minutes of ads. I will tell you guys ahead of time. I did change the ad settings last time I was streaming. I made it so that it's only like one ad break every hour, but it is like a 3-minute ad break instead of having a minute and a half ad break every 30 minutes, just because it's less frustrating on me to have like that frequent ad break. Because I do like to occasionally pause whatever I'm doing to give you guys like time to not miss out on anything, and I use that time to like get up, grab drinks or a snack, or use the bathroom. So I spread it out for my own sake. Yeah. So once the ad break starts, I'll put on the BRB screen, and I'll get up and stretch. And when we come back, we will continue working on this item illustration. Oh, that was the ad break. Wow, there we go. I completely misread that. I thought it was saying that the ad break was starting. I guess the ad break already started. Oh, whatever. Welcome back. Back into the action, I guess. I will reiterate what I was saying about the ads before. I changed the ad settings so that way it's a longer ad break but less frequent. So it's a 3-minute ad break every hour, instead of a minute and a half every 30 minutes. Just because it's easier on me, and that's about the amount of time that I need, like once per hour, to get up and like refill my drinks, use the bathroom, do that stuff. Because typically during the ad breaks, I do like to pause whatever I'm working on so you guys don't miss out on any of it. Because it's like, oh, well, you could do it for your subscribers, and it's like, I have none. There's nobody here that's a subscriber. It's fine. When the ad break comes up, I go away for everybody. So, unless that actually changes at some point. So, we'll do this. Add another layer. Make a clipping mask. Multiply. And yeah, if you got any questions or thoughts, Feel free to throw them up in chat. Welcome in to the other 2 people that just popped in. I'm going to do 2 separate sets of clipping masks for these 2 items. Just so that way their colors don't bleed into each other. They take off the smoothing for this. That's a correction. Change that. Yeah, another layer, flipping maps. Wait. What was the shape? It looks like a weird mushroom, but I'm kind of okay with that. I need to change this background color. Layer, add a layer, under the skin. There we go. We're gonna add some like implied texture to this background color later. Sketch layer. Nice. Then we add a layer above this. And we're going to make another set of clipping masks for the white pawn cat. Actually, so this layer doesn't bleed on top of the other one. I put it below. I'm not using the monoline for this. Yeah, whenever I'm doing like the solid outline for me to do my color fill, I always do it with a monoline brush because Procreate likes closed shapes. And since the monoline brush doesn't do variable opacity of any kind, it always makes solid lines without any gaps. So that way I can make closed shapes to color fill with. Purely a play for the sake of efficiency. Okay, add a layer, clipping mask, add two more, just to be sure. Clip pure white. Again. This layer multiply. Okay. I don't need this third layer. So now these are where it's just down. Exit that. Duplicate. This one down to 30%. 31's fine. Add a little Gaussian blur. Just to make that a little softer. For fun. I'm gonna add a layer under this. Let's little chromatic aberration. Just do a little offset. And multiply. Put this back up. Here. Wet glaze there. Duplicated on duplicated one. Let's get a little blur to soften something. I'm liking the chromatic aberration less. Clear that. I like that. I'm just trying to add a little bit of texture to this. Now the cool thing is I can use this template that I just made, basically, or I can use this background. And now I can basically use this background as the template for all the other versions that are going to be made today. Now we just have to add add some text. Trying to find a good handwriting brush. Doesn't look completely fucking terrible. The hard part where I have to trust my own handwriting. Oh, I got a visual reference for some calligraphy lettering. Here's a fun fact. I have fucking atrocious handwriting IRL, which is why most of the text that I add to a lot of the things that I draw is done using fonts that are already in Procreate. Because hand lettering is something that I'm fucking terrible at. Yeah, I actually hate how that looks. To the fonts. Add text. There. It's gonna be our placeholder text for right this instant. There we go. Copy canvas. Paste. Now we have the baseline for all the other things. We're just gonna leave that away for now while I sketch the next thing. Ad starting in 30 seconds. Lots of stuff to consider with this one. This one's kind of going to live and die on texture and shape more than anything. think the texture on this one got away from me just a little bit. But I do still like how it came out. And do it all over again. Man, twinning this was a terrible idea, but I gotta do it. I gotta do it to illustrate the point. Yank on my own damn headset. I gotta do colors. Oh, my battery life doing 70%. Huh? Shape's open somewhere. I just have no fucking idea where. Pick the bottom one, the white one this time. I should fill this space as well. Otherwise, it just looks wrong. Then the shapes on top don't make sense. There we go. Yes. Just do something like. Nope, that doesn't work the way I hoped it would. Know exactly what to do on that. Layer. But that's just the same as filling it in and just adding an extra step to it that doesn't need to be there. I keep forgetting I can't do that way because there's already color on this layer. Well, since this is the white one, I actually don't need the second layer for multiply. Because you can't really multiply on top of white. Actually, do not. I actually don't like how the gray looks now I'm thinking about it. Because then I can't differentiate where there's shadow and where it's not. So we'll use a different color to accent the white. Let's do white and blue. Gives it a kind of cold Arctic motif. And in areas that are just going to be shadow, we'll just leave. Yeah. General note, don't do what I'm doing. Doing all this coloring on one layer is a really bad idea. Typically. I mean, my base color that I'm working off of is white, so it doesn't really matter what I do to it, to some extent. This way. And then places I overwrite with blue. I'll just go back in with some white. There's some spots that I missed with blue. black one will do its accent colors in gold.